Or if you're not sure and you just want to be sure, don't click on the link. If your bank, RBC, First Caribbean, Commonwealth Bank, sends you this email to say log in, you go onto the Commonwealth Bank or the First Caribbean website that you know. Never click on the link in the email, because that's what they do to kind of lure you in. And so that leads me to, so when they do this, it's something called, well, before I get there, have you ever heard about the term called phishing? Actually, that is correct. But anybody ever heard of the term called phishing with a P? P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G. Yes, they are actually fishing for your information. So like when you go fishing, they put a bait on the end and they throw it out, seeing who can catch. That's exactly what the fraudsters do. They go fishing for your information. So they send you an email or send you a text. Now they're even calling you to say, we noticed something and we need you to do this. So phishing in the general terms is a cyber attack where they try to steal money from your account, or they try to steal your identity, try to steal your credit card information, your passwords. That's phishing. So they use emails with phishing. But we also have something that's called vishing. Vishing with a V just means voice. So they call you. And there's something called smishing, which is all from the term phishing, but smishing is SMS, so texting. So phishing, email, vishing, they call you, smishing, they texted you to log into something, click on something, download something. So just remember that. So if you get these situations. So I had a situation where actually the fraudsters right now, what they try to do is, so before I go back there, so with the phishing, when they tell you to, say they send you an email from your bank, First Caribbean noticed some negative activity on your account, they want you to log on, click on this link. If you click on the link, it's going to lead you to your bank's website. But what happens is, while these fraudsters may be smart, a lot of them don't speak English. So there's a lot of grammatical mistakes in the email, or the website is incorrect. The website will not be correct. So First Caribbean website would be www.cibcfcib.com. You may get something from cibcfcb.com. So you have the CIBC logo, you have all of this stuff, it makes it looks like this is legitimate. So you go ahead and you sign in. But if you really pay close attention, the website isn't correct. So that's why I told you, if you get some email, go onto the website, the legitimate website that you know, so that you can be able to log in. But if you click on the link, 100% sure that's a phishing attack and they're gonna take your information. And then you will notice $2,500, or if you only have $5, being taken from your account, and it'll be being taken from your account, then you're gonna call your bank and say, somebody from the bank steal my money. But the bank didn't steal your money. You actually gave the fraudsters access to your money. And so that's why if you log on to your bank, internet banking right now, you would see these notices that the bank will never call you or be aware of this. Pay attention to those things, because when we put up stuff like that, that means something happened. And we want to alert you. And if something happens, you become a victim. We try our best to help recover the funds for you. But if that money already gone, it gone, and ain't nothing the bank could do. Because it's not the bank's fault. It's actually your fault. So you need to be very alert and vigilant in terms of things that you click on, website that you access. So remember, you get email and you see a lot of grammatical mistakes in it, and it say coming from the bank, it probably ain't from the bank. If they tell you to click on a link, do not click on the link. If you remember anything I say tonight, do not click on the link. Because if you lose your money, the bank will try to help you, but they may not be able to help you. Okay, so in recent months, some stuff has been happening, and so I just want to make you aware of it. They are targeting the elderly. So what they do is they call up the old folks and say, we're from First Caribbean or we're from Royal Bank, and we're trying to investigate some fraudulent activity on your account. And they tell you, oh, we need you to log onto your computer or your phone and download this app. The minute, and they're thinking, oh, I don't want nobody to steal money from my account, so they go ahead and download the app. They download the app, and once they do, they follow the instructions, and the fraudsters get access to your account. And so now they actually, you ever call a place and they say they want to take over your computer or something like that? So that's what happens. So they take over your computer. So they're on your bank account, so they can see the monies being moved from their account. So they send in wires to people in Thailand, Nigeria, and so the people are witnessing this, but in their mind, I'm helping the bank with some fraudulent investigation. And by the time they realize it, they lost all their money. Their money is gone. There have been some instances where we're able to recover some monies, but some monies we were not able to recover. And one lady actually lost over. So with her situation, the bank noticed some transactions happening on the account. Okay, this is an old lady. She don't really do this thing. So the bank called her and asked her about the transactions. And she actually said, oh, yes, I performed those transactions. And she made up some story about, oh, one was repaying a loan, one was paying this bill and that bill. And so I was like, okay, well, she said that she did the transaction. And then several days later, they attacked her account again, and she lost even more money. And then she comes into the bank and said she lied. But she was scared because they threatened her. I think, so, when you put your information on social media, people know stuff about you. They know your name, they probably know where you work, so they know your family members, and so they were saying stuff like, well, if you don't do this, then we're gonna target this person and that person. So she was really scared at that point, and so she just did whatever they told her, and then she wasn't honest with the bank because she was afraid that they were gonna do something. And then, come to find out, she lost about $50-something thousand, and the bank was not able to recover any of those funds. We felt sorry for her, but had she tell us the first time, we may have been able to help her, but at the point where she was honest, then we couldn't help her. So somebody calls you telling you that they're calling from the bank to investigate fraudulent activity on your account, download some app. That ain't the bank calling you, because the bank's not gonna call you. So remember that. And especially if you have older family members, please let them know. Don't answer the fraudsters. Hang up on them. Don't talk to them. Because they play on your emotions sometimes, and people really get scared, and they give out information thinking that, okay, it's the bank, and we're trying to help. And another way that these fraudsters do, and I hope none of you ever become a victim of this, we have something called a romance scheme. Ever heard about it? So what they do is contact you on Facebook, especially like middle-aged single women. So you have these people purporting, these men, they have their way of talking, I guess, because people actually fall prey to it. They would say, all the sweet talk, kind of get them. They're in love now. Then all of a sudden they say something like, oh, I had an accident, or I had a family emergency. I need you to send me some money. You go ahead, because I'm in love with this person now. I don't know how you become in love with somebody so easily over Facebook, but it happens. I'm in love with this person now, and you send them $500. And they're telling you, oh, we're gonna send you the money back. Or they would say something like, oh, at this point, they're so in love that we're gonna get married. Okay, when we get married, I'm gonna take care of you. You don't have to worry about anything. So you send all of this money to the person. I know we're saying how people could be so gullible, but people are actually, and this isn't just one person, this has happened to several people, where they send the money, they get the money, and then the person ghosts them. We was talking every day, all hours of the day, you could reach this person. The minute you send them a certain amount of money, you get ghosted now. And then they come to the bank saying, oh, well, we sent this wire transfer to these persons and we're trying to recover our money. But you sent the money, though. What is it that you really want us to do? We can take your information and try to do an investigation, but more than likely, you will not get your money back. So we have the romance scheme. I think men actually can get targeted in that too, so please Don't send the people money. And then, I sure some of you got texts from people from Samsung saying, you won this $800,000, and in order to get your money, you have to send them a certain amount of money. Now, if I win $800,000 and you have my $800,000, just debit whatever you need to. Take it from the $800,000 and then send me the rest, right? But no, they want you to send them some money so that you can get your prize. People actually fall victim to that. It seems silly to you guys, but people actually fall victim to that. So be very careful about that. And then there's the one but your long-lost family relative who died and left you an inheritance of $1 million. And you have to send them money. People send them money. So you have to send them money because they have to pay the fees associated with sending you the money, and they don't want to touch your $1 million. They want to send you all of the money. So you have to send them the fees. Now, you ain't have no family member from Nigeria, but yet you think some person in Nigeria who you never met left you $1 million? Possibly. No, but people fall prey to those kind of stuff where they send them the money and then they come to the bank asking the bank to help them recover the money that they sent. This is one that's been very interesting. Again, social media. You get contacted on social media asking if you want to make some quick money. And people want money, so they said, yeah, sure, what do I have to do? You have to go to a bank, open up a bank account. Once you open the bank account, you now need to send the fraudsters the bank account number, the name on the account, the branch. And they're going to send you money. So let's say they send you $3,000. After you open up the bank account, they're going to send you $3,000. And this is what they're going to tell you. Now we need you to withdraw $2,500, go to Western Union, and send this money to somebody. But you can keep the $500 for yourself. So everybody oh, that's a quick $500. Okay, I can keep $500 to myself, and all I need to do is send the money to somebody. But you have to think now that it's a setup, because where they get this money from to send it to you, and why they couldn't send it to the person themselves. Why they have to send it to you, then you have to withdraw it, go to Western Union, and then send it to them. That's already suspicious right there and then. But people fall victim to that. And so when the bank compliance comes in and does the investigation, we follow the money, because now we see, oh, the money went to Jennifer Salva's account. And then Jennifer withdrew the money. And so, okay, when the police and authorities are contacted, we send them for Jennifer, because Jennifer is the person who the money went to. And then Jennifer's going to say, but somebody contact me on Facebook and they tell me do this and they tell me do that. But you're also liable because you removed the money. And so that's a thing that you have to be careful about, because that's what people are doing. There is no such thing as easy money. If somebody tell you all you have to do is send this money somewhere and you get $500, think about it. Where did they get that money from for me to do it in the first place? So just know you do that and the police come looking for you. There's a reason why. And then there's the local fraud with ASU. I know Bahamians, we like this long old ASU, right? Good way of saving money and all that stuff. But we have some people who ain't honest. So you go into this ASU, you're taking a risk. First of all, you're giving your money to this person. What if something happens to them? You lose your money. What if they get robbed? You lose your money. Or what if the other people in the ASU don't hold their end of the bargain? You also lose your money. But now what people decide to do, because nobody wants to hold all of this money at their house, so they tell you to deposit it to their bank account. So okay, Susan holding this ASU. I know I deposited this money to Susan's bank account and I expect it might draw. But then Susan goes missing. Then you want to come to the bank and say, well, I deposited this money to Susan's account. You deposited the money. You gave the money to Susan. What is it that you want the bank to do? Now you have to go again, call the police, hire a lawyer, and go find Susan so you can get your money back, because the bank can't help you. So while ASU may be good, Be very careful with who you enter ASUs with, and also know that things can happen. The person can get sick, the person can die, something else can happen, and your money is all gone. Back in the day, it used to be okay, but can't trust people today. You really, really can't trust people today. And then the same thing about paying for goods and services. Everybody on Facebook's selling something. And they telling you, oh, deposit it to my bank account, and then we can meet this place to get the money. You deposit it to the bank account, and the person is nowhere to be found. You never get the product. Then you come to the bank, again, looking for the bank to help you. But you deposited the money to the person. You gave the person the money, basically. So the bank can't help you. So I just want to make you aware of those kind of things. So there are some things that I kind of see in my job on an everyday basis. Fraud is prevalent. People come up with different ways to try to get your hard-earned money. So it's important that you be vigilant and careful and not become a victim of fraud. Yes.
Sorry. When you spoke about the lady with the $50,000,
Mm-hmm.
you said the bank called her to find out why this money was going.
Mm-hmm.
But you also said people call acting to be the bank.
Oh, that's two different things. Okay, so with that one, so with that one, with the lady, the bank didn't call her. Somebody called her saying they was investigating something. They didn't say that they were from the bank, but she kind of went with it. Now with the ones where they say it's from the bank, what they do is they same thing, put the app on your thing, take over, telling you, oh, we're investigating it, and the money's going to be returned back to your account. It never gets returned back by the time you realize that you were a victim.
So how do I know when it's the real bank calling rather than the fake bank calling?
Oh, so if the bank calls you, so I'm going to talk about that later. If the bank calls you and tell you they notice activity on your account and they want you to say what it is, they ain't asking you to download no app or nothing. They just calling to ask you questions. The fake ones will tell you to download something or click on a link or do something. When the bank calls, they're calling to verify transactions that actually happened on your account. And so, yes, for that, well.
It happened to me a couple of times, and I always play the game with them. Most of the time, they don't say what bank they're from. They just say, we're from the Visa company, and we noticed some activity on your account. I say, okay, fine. I said, what's the name of the bank? The fellow tell me, Scotia Bank. I said, I don't have a Scotia account. Click.
Exactly.
Then, next week, they call again. Yes, we noticed some activities on your credit card. I said, oh, excellent. I said, what's the name on the credit card? Click. In other words, most of the time, sometimes they call and say, I'm calling from the Visa office. Who am I speaking with?
Right, phishing
right.
for information.
Don't give them your name. They supposed to know who they're calling.
Exactly.
If they know who they're calling, then you know it's fraud right off the top.
Right.
You see, so there's certain things. And so if he'd have guessed, if he'd have guessed the bank right, then I would have gone further and said, okay, what's the name on the credit card? And what's the number? Don't come calling me and tell me you ain't know.
Right, exactly. So if the bank is calling you, we're going to be giving you specific information that we already know. We're not asking you for information.
Right.
And we're not telling you to do something specific. That's how you know the difference. And so I also want to talk about, I work in compliance. And so compliance is the people that you don't want to see because you don't see compliance. We work behind the scenes. We don't talk to customers. We don't call customers. We don't face customers. Our customers are actually the employees of the bank. And so when banks have different rules and regulations they have to follow, how many of you have ever said, I don't know why the bank asking for so much information, or why they need to know this, or why they need to know that? Right? Guilty? Anyone guilty? Yes, okay. But, just like how the Bible has some rules and regulations that we have to follow, the government has some laws that we have to follow. Well, banks have laws and policies that we have to follow. Local laws in the Bahamas and also international laws because we deal with international transactions. And so I want to encourage you to take some time out to look up the laws associated with banks. So we have the Central Bank Act, you have the Proceeds of Crime Act, it tells you about that. You have the Bank and Trust Regulations Act, you have the Financial Transactions Reporting Act. So there are so many acts that relates to banks that banks have to follow. We can't just allow customers to do whatever it is that they want to do. So we need to know certain information. And no bank operates in a silo. So you may think, oh, well, First Caribbean is a bank. Are they doing this? Well, anything the bank does, they have to get central bank approval. They can't just come up with some policy and procedure and do it without running it through central bank. So when banks do something, it's because we need to know. We're trying to follow some guidelines. We don't want to get shut down. We want to operate, so we can't allow customers to do whatever they want to do. And because we deal in international transactions, there are a lot of international laws that we have to follow. So when we ask you for certain information, it's because we're mandated to do so. We need to know. So if you want to use the products and services of the bank or any financial institution, it's important that you follow the processes and procedures. If not, keep your money under the mattress. So if you want that bank account, do what the bank asks you. So if, like I said, if we allow people to do whatever they want to do, then there's going to be a lot of chaos. We're going to have a lot of stealing. We're going to have a lot of other kind of stuff. So banks are mandated to KYC. Who knows what KYC stands for? Sister Renee? Know your customer. So anybody who opens a bank account at any financial institution, that financial institution is obligated to know you. And when I say know you, we need to know identification information. Oh, I just want to put this plug out here. On April 6th, because I know sometimes people be like, the bank asks for so much stuff when you're trying to open a bank account. So if you're trying to open a personal bank account right now, Central Bank has actually relaxed the laws in terms of what you need. So before, when banks ask you for all these different things, it's because Central Bank tell us we had to ask for it. So now if you want to open a bank account, you only need to go into the bank with a passport, and they can open up your bank account for you. Just a passport. Or even if you have an expired passport, they can open a bank account for you. If you bring that expired passport along with another identification like birth certificate or something else to verify you, we can use that expired passport. Or you can open it with just your driver's license alone. So you don't need to have all of the other stuff. So just to plug this, if you go in the bank with just one document and they tell you you can't open a bank account, call Central Bank because they should open the account for you. Now they're going to ask you for certain information and you have to provide it for them, but the only thing you need to identify yourself is a passport or a driver's license. Now if you don't have any of those, then they're going to ask you for two things. So just that plug in there. But the bank needs to know your identification information. They need to know your address information because we need to know how to find you. Yes, people move up and down, but if we have your ID, NIB number, somehow, some way, we can find you. Then we need points of contact. So whether it's your postal address, whether it's your email address, telephone number, cell phone number, banks will ask you for these certain information. Banks also need to know the purpose of why you are opening that bank account. You can't just be like, well, I'm not telling you that. Well, we need to know because this is how we track the transactions that happen on your account. So if you say the purpose of your account is for salary, then that's what you should be using your account for, salary. But if you say savings is a little bit broader, but then when you say savings, they're going to ask you, what's your potential activity? Potential activity means how much money are we anticipating you to be depositing into this account per month? Or how much money are you going to be withdrawing per month? So when y'all fill out these forms and y'all put this information in there, know that this is how the bank is tracking you and they're going to keep you accountable to that. So if you say you open up your account for salary and you're only going to be depositing $2,000 a month, and then all of a sudden we see all kind of different transfers from everybody and it's like $10,000 a month, we're coming to you, we're going to ask some questions. And then we're going to ask you to provide supporting documentation because on our records and the paperwork that you signed, you said that you will be using the account for this purpose. How is it that you're now using it for something else? And if you're able to provide us with some supporting documents, like you got that inheritance from your long lost relative in Nigeria, but you're able to provide us with some supporting documents to show that you legitimately got that money, then we're going to be okay. So it's not where we're trying to stop your money. We just need to know where you're getting your money from, because we are held accountable to certain laws and standards that we may get shut down if we don't find out from our customers where they're getting their money from. So if the bank sees, so be realistic when you're opening accounts to say what you're going to be putting in your bank account. Yes, Sister Ferguson?
I want to know, can kids open up bank accounts?
Yes, ma'am.
Children.
So the parent, well, I can only speak it for First Caribbean. I don't know how other banks do it, but the parent opens their account for the kid. So if the child, and actually if the child is 11 years or older, they can actually get a debit card. So the card will actually be in their name, but it will be Karen Ferguson for Janae Ferguson or something like that. And then Janae would get a card in her name. So the parent would have to provide their identification, and then you provide the identification for the child along with the birth certificate to verify that that's your child. So, yes. Oh yeah, like I was saying. So if you open an account and you say the purpose of salary, and then all of a sudden we see these different transfers to your account coming from different people, looking like they're paying for different products and services, the bank's gonna come to you and ask you, so what happened? And it may be legit. You may have now gotten a business and you give your account number to people to pay you. But the problem with that is you open your account for personal reasons. That's your personal account. And if you're now using that account for business purposes, the bank is going to ask you to open a business account. So just like how you had to get a business license to operate that business, you need a business account to have money sent to that account. So it's basically simple. So it'll be, again, Jennifer Salva trading as Glamours and Glitz. So then you make all the deposits to that account. You need your business license, your identification, and you can be able to open up that bank account. So you may have to pay some additional fees with a business account, but it separates duties. So like, I know of a situation where a pastor, use this example, a pastor, I guess the church collected tithes and offering on Sunday. They wrote up the deposit on the bank for the church, the bank account for the church, the deposit book. It said the church. The pastor comes to the bank to make the deposit to his personal account to another bank. So let's say it's supposed to, the deposit slip is RBC. All the church wrote it up. They left it with their pastor to make the deposit. Pastor comes to Scotia Bank. Oh yeah, they just put it on the slip because I didn't have nothing else, but this going to my personal account. Anything suspicious with that? Okay, but we have that kind of stuff happening. It's it was in Past Adams. But just so you know, you have those kind of stuff that's happening. People ain't always honest. So say that again. And so that's where the bank asks questions. So in that case, the deposit wasn't accepted because it was like, okay, suspect right now. Okay, so yeah, and then compliance does special investigations, like Sister Rochelle was talking about. Compliance does investigate people. We investigate you when we see suspicious activity happening. We report certain things. Like if you see certain people being charged before the courts for different crimes or whatever, probably some bank investigated something and they reported it to the police, and now they're being charged with it. So you can't just do whatever you want to do. Banks are watching your account. When you say you're doing something, we're following that because that's kind of like your testament to say this account is for this. And now all of a sudden you're doing something else. I mean, things change and things happen, but what we need is for you to provide some supporting documentation. If you can't provide supporting documentation or you refuse to provide supporting documentation, then we will do our investigation and do what we have to do so that we can bring you before the courts, put the police on you, do whatever it is that we need to do. And then you're going to have to prove to them that you were doing something legitimate. Where was I? Yeah, okay. The bank also needs to know your source of wealth. Sorry, so if you have a lot of money and you want to open a bank account, the bank needs to know how you get all that money. So you say it was from business, inheritance, just show us that that's where your wealth came from, especially people who are what we call politically exposed. Politically exposed persons, we need to know their source of wealth, because as you know, you go into politics with no money, and then you leave after 5 years and you have a lot of money. So we want to know where you got your money from, and then also your family members. So if you're a family member of somebody that's politically exposed, they want to know where you got your money from too, to make sure that you ain't connected with some illegal politician. So just so you know that. Banks also conduct screening on every person that opens a bank account. So we are going to put your name in some database to see if any hits come against you associated with any financial crime, anything associated with money laundering, terrorist financing, if you were convicted, you've been to jail, if you're from some sanctioned country on some international sanction list that we shouldn't be doing business with. We're going to search you up. We have to do that for every customer. And if a hit comes back, we're going to ask certain questions, and we can refuse to open a bank account for you. Or let's say we have an account for you, and we do our periodic searches, and we find this hit on you, then we're going to probably come and send you a letter, say, you are no longer within our risk appetite. We have to exit our relationship. Because we are mandated that we cannot have accounts with known criminals associated with money laundering, terrorist financing, or anything sanctioned. Now, if you're a reformed criminal and you've been in jail for like something petty like 20 years ago, yeah, a hit may come up on you, but we use our discretion then to make sure that, okay, maybe they are reformed, this for a job, then we kind of make that account probably high risk, and we do extra monitoring to make sure that you are reformed and you're not still trying to do something criminal on that bank account. But banks screen every customer. I know I talked about money laundering. Who knows what money laundering is? Anybody? Anybody heard the term? Sister Renee, what is money laundering? Right, okay, so kind of so, right. So money laundering is this, in layman's term. It's basically you got money from something illegal, and you're using the bank now to kind of clean it up. Because, you know, people say, oh, that money comes from the bank, so that have to be good money. So what they do is try to get their dirty money into the financial institution. And it came from, I think it's Al Capone. Hold on, let me tell you exactly who it is. It's actually from the mafia. Yeah, it is Al Capone. So they were making so much money back in the day where they needed to kind of find some way to make their money look clean. So they opened up all these laundromats. And so they made it seem as if the funds were coming from the laundromat, trying to get it into the bank, but it was actually coming from drugs all along. So they can't go to the bank. You can't go to the bank and say, oh, my money came from drugs. They're not going to accept that money. So you open up a laundromat. And so money laundering, you kind of washing the money to make it clean. So if you have any association with money laundering, any hits come up against you, we're not going to open up your bank account, or we're going to close the bank account. Money laundering actually still happens today. So you would see these stores, they open up this store, the store just pop up. Nobody going into the store. They have maybe one customer, and then they come into the bank with deposits for like $200,000 every week. So yeah, so that's what they kind of do. They kind of use the little businesses to do it. And so that's why what we do is when you open a bank account, we have to ask specific questions, and we monitor you against that. This don't make no sense. So sometimes maybe a bank official have to go do a site visit to see, okay, people really go in this store? Does this store really make all of this money? To kind of verify that you ain't trying to launder some money through our bank. Then we have, like I said, banks can be fined or closed down for allowing money laundering activities to happen through us. If we knowingly allow it, we can be closed down. So we have to have extra precautions to prevent such things from happening. Like people need to place their money somewhere, so they try to use the banks. I don't know if you paid attention to like our politically exposed persons. We had several of them in the past year, a couple months, who've been charged before the courts for some alleged illegal activity, stealing or bribery. So, and if you pay close attention, they are being charged with money laundering. And the reason they're being charged with money laundering is because the monies supposedly came from illegal means. Some fraudulent activity happened, giving out contracts or whatever, that's illegal, and then you deposit it to the bank. So you're trying to make it look legitimate, so they're going to be charged with money laundering. So anybody who does some kind of crime associated with money, so drug dealer, you use the bank, find out, you're going to be charged with money laundering. You can even be charged with money laundering if you knowingly know somebody's a drug dealer or knowingly know somebody got their money from illegal activities. You accept that money and then you deposit it to your account. There's a thing called willful blindness, meaning that you willingly turned a blind eye. You know what was happening, but I ain't saying nothing, so I'm going to take some money. They give me this money, even if it's your son. You're going to be charged with money laundering. So please, tell your son, don't sell drugs, and don't take the money from your son and try to bring it to the bank. And then there is something called terrorist financing. Who knows what terrorist financing is? Basically, financing terrorists. Simple as that. But you know, terrorists and terrorist organizations, they have a goal. They're trying to take over something, and they're going to do it with force. You know, we want to come here, and we want to take over the world. We want to blow up someplace for our cause. And so banks cannot engage with anybody who is a known terrorist or you're associated with a terrorist. So you can't come to the bank and say you want to send a wire transfer to ISIS. We're not going to send that wire transfer, and we will report you to the police. So the police gonna come looking for you because that's a terrorist. We don't want nothing to do with them, and y'all shouldn't want nothing to do with them either because we don't know, they may blow up the Bahamas. So yes, terrorist financing, we don't want anything to do with that. And so like I said, we screen against you for everything. So if you have somebody who is a terrorist or a known money launderer and they have a close name like you may have some issues with the bank because we're going to now ask you some extra questions because we got a hit on your name. So we want to know, okay, does the date of birth match? Which country are you from? So we're going to do extra scrutiny on you just to make sure. So like, let's say your daddy's a criminal and you get your daddy last name. Or your son is a criminal who have your name. And you're trying to open up a bank account. You may get some extra scrutiny in reference to that because, like I said, banks cannot have accounts for known criminals associated especially with money laundering and terrorist financing. So we have a list. So if we exit our relationship, we're going to put you on this list of somebody that we don't want to do business with ever again. And wherever we have a presence, your name is going to be on that list. So it's not just going to be in the Bahamas. If you try to go someplace else and your name is on the list, we're not going to open an account for you. So I know of a situation where our account was closed in Turks and Caicos for us not wanting to do business with them. And that person decides to come to the Bahamas to open up this bank account. What do you think happened? We did not open the bank account because obviously his name was on the list of people that we don't want to do business with. So I want to leave you with some nuggets as I wrap up. If you receive monies to your bank account, you know you ain't expecting the money. What would you do? You can take it? That's your blessing. The Lord just bless you to pay this bill. Hallelujah. Listen to me. If you do that, you can take it. But you're going to probably have to pay that money back because when the bank does the investigation and find out that that money was not intended for you, then you're going to have to pay it back. Or it could be a case where we would advise the person who the money was in. Let's say our account number was off by one number. It went to Baratwell's account. but it was supposed to go to Brother Kwame's account because their account numbers are similar. And then Brother Atwell decides to go and take the money, and Brother Kwame comes to the bank and say, the money is never received to my account. We do the investigation, and we found out that it went to Brother Atwell's account. We're probably going, we're going to call up Brother Atwell and say, were you expecting this money? And he's going to come up with some kind of lie or something, and then we're going to tell that he's probably not telling the truth. And we're going to say, Brother Kwame, report the matter to the police. Let the police do their job, while we're also going to do our investigations from our end and determine that, hey, this dishonesty from this person, is this somebody that we want to continue doing business with? Because if they can do this, what else is it that they can do in the bank? You can't be honest about it. You done use the money. I know of a situation where somebody used the money. They said that they were expecting the money. We knew that they were not expecting the money. And then they said, oh, I don't have a job, so I can't. They weren't even willing to try to say, okay, I'm going to pay the money back somehow, some way. They just said, I don't have a job. Well, you don't have a job. So, when the police went to that person, I don't know where they got the money from, but they paid the money back. So you don't want to have to go through that kind of situation. So if money is deposited to your account, ask question. If the bank asks you questions about your money, you go into the bank and make a deposit, and they tell you fill out this form. It's probably called a declaration source of funds form. It's because you probably have not done this type of transaction before. We have concerns about it. We just want to know where it came from. We ain't trying to stop you from depositing your money. We just want you to provide us with some supporting documents to verify where you got the money from. Because you have a lot of people, they getting money, and they getting from illegal means. And we don't want illegal money into our bank. So we're going to ask you some questions. So please fill out the form. Don't refuse to answer the bank's questions, because the bank, we can close your account. We don't need you to have an account with us. You can go to another financial institution. So just answer the questions that the bank asks. Just be good Christian individuals. What would Jesus do? The bank's just doing their job. So please answer the questions that the banks ask. People out here are doing a lot of crazy stuff. So please help the banks follow the laws of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and international laws and our guidelines by you answering our questions or doing what you said that you would do when you open up your bank account. Any questions? Yes, sir.
If you have a dispute with a particular bank, what are the statutes of limitations?
If you have a dispute with a bank.
Yeah. Is there like a statute of limitations before you can actually go into the bank and sort of deal with it?
No, I guess you have to kind of help me understand when you say dispute. But when you say dispute, what do you mean?
What I mean, like if there's you dealt with a bank, you did some major transaction with a credit card, you go back a few days later, and the person that you deposit the funds to is no longer there, and the customer service department head said that the money was not supposed to be deposited over the actual counter, and they refused to acknowledge that you actually paid the credit card off.
Okay, so hold on. You made a credit card deposit.
You paid it. Yeah,
you paid it.
You paid it off completely.
You paid it off completely, but the person who you gave the monies to did not put it to your account?
No, the teller.
The teller, didn't put the money to your account?
No, the teller did put it to the account. But when you went back, for confirmation, I knew the teller, and the teller just happened to be like a friend of the family. Mm-hmm. So I knew everything was actually legit. But the customer service department head, somehow they either fired her or just sent her to someplace else. When I went back there, the customer service department said the money wasn't paid.
They're saying that you have a receipt?
Yeah.
If you have a receipt,
well, don't forget now. A lot of these the receipts, for some reason, to me, they made out of these cheap paper that they don't even after like a 2 or 3 months, they actually evaporates.
Okay, I agree with you, but I mean, if you get the statements from your account, you should be able to see if you said they made it, the money should have been paid, and so you can actually have a dispute against the bank. So yes, there's no statute. Actually, there is none. So I mean, it's like you could have done something 20 years ago, and if you can show that, hey, that money went to your account, I mean, it's supposedly gone to your account, but your credit card wasn't paid off, then it's that. So I guess that's something that you can take up.
Well, that's what's important for me.
Yes, you can be able to. So, but it's all about providing documentation to show.
All right.
Because don't let it just be your word against the person who no longer works at the bank. Then that makes it a whole different situation.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
All right. Let's say you have a business, right? You have a business, and you working from home,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you follow this application, but you say they carry you through, and you saying, all right, I'm making $20,000 a month, and you exceeding the $20,000 a month, and you working from home now. You offering the service. You go from house to house, all various houses, and you exceed the $20,000, and you try to move this. Let's say approximately $30,000 in the bank. How can you determine you paying the banker said I didn't collect this $30,000 for various customers?
Well, if you collected it from various customers, this is important for you to have some receipt to show that you did a service. All the banks want is some evidence that you actually doing it, because you can say that and you can legitimately be doing a business. So it's important for documentation, because we need to be able to verify. If somebody else comes and says, oh, you have this customer and we find some illegal stuff on this customer, we can say, no, he provided the supporting documentation, so we can validate that. But we can't just take your word for it, especially if you opened the account and it was only this amount. Now, your business, you don't really have a website, you don't have nothing known to say, okay, so we can validate that you're actually doing the service, you have no receipts, no documentation, then that would be suspicious to the bank. So it's important to document.
Okay, so but you're telling me, okay, let's say you have the website, you have the Facebook business page, you have all this going on, and you telling me it's similar to just a receipt, and someone's signature on the receipt, that's verification.
No, I mean, that may be, we may actually have additional questions for you, but that's a start. So each case is different. The thing is, we just need to validate that you are doing a service, you're legitimately making that money. So it's a case-by-case basis. I can't tell you just having one receipt and then the bank is going to accept it, because they may be like, we need some more information. So it's a case-by-case basis. But just make sure that you can validate what you're doing. Joey?
Good night. What is considered illegal proceeds that the bank do not accept?
What is considered illegal? I don't have an answer for that. So just know that anything that comes from criminal activity, it's illegal. I mean, we won't accept it. And it's known. So I can't be like, okay, this. It's different. It may come from something legal, but we have we think something's up with that, we probably won't accept it.
All right. If the government adjusts the law to marijuana, would it be considered legal proceeds?
Yes, it would be considered legal proceeds. But this is the caveat, though. Let's say, so gambling was illegal back in the day, and then gambling became legal. So if you go and you win some monies, before, you couldn't deposit that to your bank account because gambling was illegal. But when it became legal, so each bank kind of tweaked their laws and procedures to say how we're going to do this. So what they decided is, okay, if you own the gambling company, we probably ain't going to bank you, because when you got that, your source of wealth was from something illegal. But we'll take on your employees because it's now legal. So it's a case-by-case basis. So if marijuana becomes legal, we'll probably treat it the same way.
And would the bank be aiding and funding, like how they do packages, startup plans and stuff like that? Would the bank be funding those type of...
No.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Ain't coming from the bank.
Afternoon. say you in the range from 11 to 16 and you go to the bank with your parent open a bank account. How old do you have to be to get your ATM
Debit card?
ATM
You
card?
can, you can get one. If you're 11, they'll give you one in your name.
ATM card?
Yeah. You look like you need to take your parents to the bank so they can open one account for you. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much for your time. I hope that you learned something. And please remember, don't be a victim of fraud, and answer the questions when the bank asks you. Thank you.
Okay, all I could say is awesome, awesome, amen? Good stuff, good stuff. Loaded information. Just before Rochelle come and close us off, Rochelle, I'm going to let you close us off tonight. Just want to say, first of all, I'm thankful to be here. Remember to pray for my wife while she's in St. Martin, connecting with her mother, who's sick at this time, and so she's going to be there for a little while. So remember to pray for her. I appreciate that very, very much. Also thankful to those who've been in charge, who've been doing different things, the deacons, the preachers, all that's been involved with music, everything. I'm going again on Friday, preaching to the West Indies Baptist Fellowship Conference, so we need your prayers. Myself, Pastor Hannah, we just came to church, they went home. Pastor Hannah, Pastor Woodside, Mistress Woodside, myself, there's 5 of us will be traveling, and Sister Williams. We will all be traveling on Friday, and so we'll be going down to Jamaica, then Trinidad, then St. Martin. So we appreciate your prayers while we're away, and of course we got some able men that are declaring the word of God. Give you a scripture verse, but Kwame gave you something at the beginning. Want to put the sandwich in. Again, I want to put in a word for Caribbean. They called me, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago, they called me and they said, this Pastor Adam said yes. They said, we want to send some stuff to you. We want to know whether you have been involved in these things, et cetera, et cetera. And they sent me a list, and it was about $250 dollar here, $1.50 there, $2 there, $3 there. One account was $50, and that was one of the big things here in the Bahamas. All the other places, Switzerland, Germany, Russia, all kind of stuff going from my account. About $207 gone. As First Caribbean had called me and sent me the information, said, did you realize this? Didn't realize that. So they said, okay, since this was suspicious, we're going to change your card, and we're going to let you know what's going on. And they called me back, said they changed my card, they're sending another card. And then after that, they put all that money, so apparently they caught it, all the money, they put back on to my account. So I could say kudos go out to them, because that's a real situation. As a matter of fact, the $50, that's the only one was $50, and that happened to be somebody did a charge to Batelgo from my account. It is suspected that all the $1 this and the $2 that and the $3 that all came from somebody who had hacked in the account, and because it was gambling. So I didn't even know that type of stuff was taking place. So I just say kudos out to them. Everything that Sister Lisa said was just excellent, powerful, truthful, and if you could take the heed and the warning, you'll secure yourself. Amen. Luke 6:38, just a few thoughts here on it. Scripture says, give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure that you meet withal, it shall be measured to you again. Again, I want to stress, learn to give. That's one of the secrets of life. People are quick to hoard, but when they learn to give, I'm not talking about casting your pearls before swine. That's a different story. Don't be careless about it. But when you learn to give, there's a freedom, there's a power, there's a thankfulness that you're saying, God, I love you. I'm learning to give. I'm giving to you, because learn to give to God, And again, we stress in Luke 12 that when you give the right way, you not only invest in kingdom earth, you invest in that which is going to last for eternity. Remember, Jesus told the story, the rich guy, not the young ruler. This one's the rich man who said, I built great barns. Let me build some bigger barns. And the Bible says, thou fool, this night shall thy soul be required of thee. And then whose things shall these be? You better know this. What money you have, what building you have, somebody go in it after you're gone. And after they gone, somebody go in it too. And after they gone, somebody go in it. After they gone, somebody go in it. So we're kind of, to the point where we think, well, I got it. It's never going to leave me. It will leave you or you will leave it. Okay? So we're just trying to tell you, make sure when you give, learn to give to that which is good for now and also for eternity. So great. Just want to encourage you in that area. Thank you again, Lisa. Tremendous job. Okay, let's, anything else we need to cover? I want to remind you, we have a special speaker coming in on Sunday morning, so we want you to be in church. Kwame's going again preaching Sunday night, so we look forward to a good time. So Sister Rochelle, come and close us up.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for Sister Lisa. I caught her on Sunday, and she still did a tremendous job. So thank you for that. The gentleman that asked the question from the bank just wanted to let you know in the black that the Data Protection Act, you can write to the bank, tell them under the Data Protection Act, Section 8, they have 40 days to respond to you. They don't respond, you make a complaint to the Data Commissioner. They will respond. Contract, you have a contract with the bank, money disappear, you have 6 years to go after somebody if they owe you under a contract. After 6 years, they still owe you, but the court would not assist you. No, after 6 years for a contract. So you got to get that before the 6 years. But you write to them and let them know under the Data Protection Act, you're requesting the information on your account, and if they don't respond, then you complain to the Data Commissioner. Okay? Having said that, we are at the end, Pastor said the end of June. So we are at the end of June. So I want to thank all of our speakers. I want to thank all of you for coming and attending. I know Brother Kwame had asked that I do a session on resumes and persons who want to open their own business, how to go about getting your business license. So we're going to do a session on resumes for the young people, so we could explain certain things, like the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. The abbreviation of the country is the Bahamas with a capital T, not Bahamas. So we're going to make sure they fit those resumes right. So at some point, I'm going to be doing a teaching on that for the young people. So I'm going to turn it over to Pastor. Pardon me? You weren't sending out no resume. But the persons who are sending out resumes, persons that are applying for college, persons that are applying for financial aids and scholarships, you want to make your documents stand out. So know where you live, the Bahamas, not Bahamas. For those of you who y'all listen to the news and they talk about our Caribbean athletes and lump us all together, Caribbean cooking, our Caribbean culture, take a look at the map. The Bahamas is not located in the Caribbean. We are located in the North Atlantic Ocean. We are part of the Caribbean community because there's strength in numbers. And we don't mind identifying with the Caribbean, but as a Bahamian, you should know that the country is not located in the Caribbean. But you should know that. We are in the North Atlantic Ocean. So these are the kind of things we're going to make sure that the young people know. In addition, that we are not a Nassau. Nassau is just a certain portion. So we're going to make sure that their resumes and their financial letters for financial aids or scholarship letters are fixed properly. So thank you, and thank you to all of our speakers. And I don't know when we can have that session, but I guess we'll get back to you.
Give a round of applause, please. She did a great job. And don't forget, Sister Rochelle, when we get back to it, the will. We got to get that going. So I think those great resumes, I think that's going to be excellent as far as that's concerned. Let's everybody stand. Let's look to the throne of grace in prayer and thank the Lord for his goodness and all that he has done. And again, I want to remind those of you that are interested in Sunday school, we've got to come to the place where we understand children are important to our church, it's important to the nation. If we could reach, you could bend the tree when it's young, you got a direction, you can put them in. A lot of these guys that are wild out there don't be in Sunday school, they've not been trained, nobody's watching over them. So we understand if you're going to help out in Sunday school, you're helping out with eternity in view with these children. So I'd love to have some more folk that will be interested. Like I said, even if it means just going there and saying, teacher, I've come to help, just take these kids to the bathroom and bring them back. You're investing in time, investing for eternity. Father, thank you so much for all our ears have heard and our hearts have felt. And thank you for the information that we found just in our church alone. These men, these women, thank you for what they have conveyed. I thank you for Sister Rochelle, and we pray that God will continue these thoughts, these trends, that our folk may be sound when it comes to finances, that we may hear you at the end of the day say, well done, thou good and faithful servant, that we may be servants who, with our talents, would multiply them and not hide them. We ask your blessings again for the services going to be on Sunday, and Lord, next week, and then, Lord, also for the service with regards to the youth group on Friday. We ask your blessings, and in Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. You're dismissed.